So hello everyone, my name is Aryan Bhandari and this is Java course by DoCoNation. And in the previous session, we have done setup and installation of JDK and code editor. And in this session, we'll be learning about data types and variables. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna right click on Java Basics, which is a package, go to new and make a class. So I'm gonna make it of 01. Okay, so we'll be starting with what is a variable. Okay, so in order to store anything we need some container, right? So if you want to store a pickle or any pickle, right, you need a container, right, to store it. So that's what a variable does. So variable is just like a container that stores a value. Okay, so I'm gonna also comment it for you so that once I give you the file, you'll see, you can read the notes too. All right. Now, when we store a pickle, so we usually store a pickle in a glass container, right? Uh, we don't store it in steel container, right? So similarly, for different things we store in different containers, right? So similarly in Java also we store variables in some data types, okay, in some container, okay, some type of container. So that type is known as data type of that variable. Okay, so I'm gonna just write an example. So let's just assume that I have a mango pickle and I have 12 of it. Okay, so this is the variable. Okay, this is known as the variable, and this is the type of the variable. So int means integer type. So as you can see, I'm storing integer values, right? So if I want to store, let's say some kind of fruit, okay, so I'm gonna take string data type, okay, and let's just say some fruit, and I'm gonna write mango. Okay, so as you can see, I have put this mango inside double quotes. So if you write double quotes, this represents a string data type. Okay, so now there are some rules for declaring a variable. So I'm gonna just comment it. So guys, if you have any doubt, you can ask immediately. Rules for declaring a variable. So a variable cannot begin with a digit. Okay, it should not begin with a digit. So if I just write this and I write mango, so as you can see, my code editor is giving me error. It's giving me a syntax error. Okay, so like in any language, or in Hindi or in English, we have some grammatical rules, right? So in Java also, in programming languages, we have some rules which are known as syntaxes. So it is giving me a syntax error. So that means this is not true. Now let me give it one. Next rule. So the name is case sensitive. Name is case sensitive. Now what do you mean by that is, if I write, so let me just say name. So this is the data type and this is the variable where I'm gonna store my name. Okay, and I'm putting semicolon in front of it. Okay, so you have to do that like a syntax. Also, these are known as comments. Okay, so if we do a double forward slash, that will make a single line comment. Okay, and if you do this, now this is known as multi-line comment. Okay, you can write like this. See, there are multiple reasons for using comment. Now if this is my old file, okay, and I'm opening this after a long time, So how will you know that what I was doing over here? Okay, if I simply remove all of these comments, and I will give you the file, what will you understand by this? I'm writing string name Aryan, I'm writing mango pickle, like what am I writing this for? So to understand, whoever the programmer is, whoever working on the file, to understand that what is exactly going to happen next. So that is why we put comment for that. See, single line comment is only for single line. So let's just say this is a single line comment, right? I'm only commenting one line. Okay. Now if I'm extending this over here, so let's say rules for declaring a variable, and the second rule is, so this is not a comment. Okay, so it's giving me error. But if I write the same thing over here, it won't give me error. I can write anything between these. So this is known as multi-line comment, and this is single line comment. Okay, so we were discussing about that the name is case sensitive. Okay, so if I write string name, my name is Aryan. So this is can be anything. Okay, this can be anything. This is the variable and this is the data type. Now if I write name and if I write this, so these both are different. Okay, this is not same because these are case sensitive. If I write uppercase or lowercase, it will matter. Okay, it's not like I can write uppercase anywhere and lowercase anywhere. So they will not be the same, they'll be different. So that is what it is meant by case sensitive, right? And if I also write in, even if in integer, uh, just say number of apples is 10. Okay, and if I write this as this, okay, so this is not same. And if I also write the same, it will give me error because I cannot define the same variable again and again. Okay, it will give me a duplicate warning, as you can see, duplicate local variable. Okay, and let me give you a proof of that. If I write 15 over here, and let me just comment it. So what I'm doing over here is I'm selecting all, I'm pressing comment and forward slash. So it's gonna give single line comment to all. Okay, now I'm gonna do SYSO and control space. So this code prints the statement. Okay, system is a class. Okay, so this we'll learn about class in coming lectures. Okay, for now just bear with me. This is a class and I'm gonna print. So this is a code like in C++ we have cout. Similarly in Java we have this code to print out a statement or a value. So I'm gonna just say number of apples, and similarly I'm gonna just simply copy it and I'm gonna write number of apples. I should get different values because these two are not same. Okay, I'm gonna run it from here. Yeah, see, I'm getting two different values because uppercase and lowercase. That means case is sensitive. Case uppercasing and lowercasing matters. All right. Now let's move on to third rule. Now third rule says it cannot be a keyword. So what is a keyword? Keyword are special variables that are already defined by JDK, that is already there in Java. So like variables like int, okay, these are keywords like int. Then we have keywords like if else. Okay, these are some keywords. Okay, we have switch. You might have heard about that switch in C or C++. So these all are variables. Okay, so these you cannot use over here because these will not make sense, and the JDK will tell this I have already defined, and the variable itself means that it should be user defined. Fine. So third rule is that And so let me just do, if I write int and if I say if, because if is also a keyword, this will give me an error. Okay, syntax error again. Okay, let's move on to the fourth rule. So it's not like a rule actually. It can contain alphabets and it can contain digits. It's not like you cannot write digits inside of these. So if I just write that, let me just copy it, and I can write, okay, now over here I can write something like this. Okay, I can append at the last, or I can append in the between. Okay, so this will make sense. Or I'm, as you can see, I'm using underscores also. Okay, can we use this? Yes, we can use this also. Can we use this? No. Why? Because this is an operator. This we'll discuss later. Fine, I think you got my point. Fine. So these were the rules. So till now, do you have any doubt? So there are two types of data types. Okay. One is primitive type and another one is non-primitive type. So what is a primitive type? So primitive type is already there inside the JDK, which is already defined. Okay. I mean, there are the intrinsic one. So like integer. Okay, this int is a primitive data type. Okay, and you have float, then you have char, and you have boolean. So if I, let me just write you for, like, let me just write for you so that you will have a note. So you have integer, you have float, you have char, and you have boolean. Okay, so these are some new data types. Okay, now how to define all of these? Fine, so we have already seen int. Int is for integers. If you write this decimal value, it gives an error. Okay, so you cannot do that. This is not for decimal values. So for decimal values in Java, by default the data type we use is double data type. Okay, so let's just say, okay, so I can use some decimal value over, I can write anything, right? So this is a variable. Okay, I can give it any name, as I've discussed using all the rules. And this is the double data type, which is by default there in Java for floating points. So if you might have studied C or C++, there you have float. Okay, let me just declare float also. And if I write decimal, so it is giving me an error. Why? Because by default in Java, decimal types are only there for double. For float, you have to append f. Okay, you're doing typecasting. If I can also do it like this way also. This is also a way. So let me just copy it for your notes. Now similarly, so float, so you have different types of containers. As I said, if you want to store something, you need to have a container, and then there are different types of container also, and also there are different sizes of containers also, right, to store anything. So in a layman term, you can see the values of these. Okay, there is you can go to JDK and Oracle website, and you can see the actual values for all of the primitive data types. So in a layman term, float is a bit less, okay, than the double in decimal values. Okay, and you can store more values, uh, more larger values in double, and in float you can store comparatively less larger value. And similarly for integer values, you have int, right? So similarly in Java, integer is the default type for storing integer values. And for storing integer values, we also have a long data type. Okay, so comparatively, long will store larger integers than the int data type. So if I write something like this, it will, okay. And like I already mentioned, like in float, we have to write float over here or f over here. Similarly, while storing long data types, we can write L, append L in the last. Okay. Now for Boolean. So Boolean is stores true or false. Okay. In electronics term, we say it is, or in binary terms, we say it stores 0 or 1. So if I write Boolean and present, so I can store true or I can store a false value, right? I cannot store anything else in it. It will give me error. Now I have already mentioned string for storing characters. Okay, or we can say set of characters. So we have string. Sorry for that. String name. I have to put double quotes for it and then write in it. Okay, so I guess all of you have understood. That's great. Okay, thank you all. This is it for the session, and we'll meet in the next session.